Hello, everyone. It's This Week in Agribusiness Meteorologist Greg Soulje. We're back in for Max Armstrong. Welcome to Farm Progress Dateline Drought. Our continuing coverage of the drought of 2012 is brought to you by Genuity Drought Guard Hybrids. Well, that weather pattern has the look and feel of November over the past couple of days, and another 24 to 36 hours as such from the Great Lakes region to the Ohio Valley, a good chunk of that eastern Corn Belt area with recurring outbreaks of light frosts and freezes there, perhaps some areas of fog too. Meanwhile, back across areas of the western and southwestern Corn Belt, a spot or two of moisture, more so into the upper Midwest, taking on the form of a little light snow and rain, heralds the arrival of a south wind and a moderating trend in temperatures, which of late have been topping out close to the 70-degree mark as far north as Big Sky Country. Boy, you livestock managers, bin and barn operators, real shockaroo to the system expected there as a cold air, almost typical of midwinter time, builds southward out of the Canadian prairie, seeps back west towards the divide and settles on southward. That'll buckle the jet stream, and a couple of weather systems over the next couple of weeks are expected to come out of the western states, energize over the plains, and generate a wide and certainly significant swath of moisture, primarily, if not all, rain, and some additional moisture recharge as we continue to nibble away nicely at that eastern Corn Belt area. Western sections, too, you'll see over the next 5 days how moisture is expected to play out there. But it's cold and snow that will lay down perhaps a moderate to heavy snowfall event over the next 36 hours as a low comes out of the central sections of the high plains, heads into the Great Lakes region. Organized wet weather early next week will give way to a more typical mid to late autumn feel over the eastern Corn Belt, and another wide and significant system bearing moisture in one form or another is ahead for late next week as well. Well, on to the maps and charts, and over the next 3 to 5 days, look at the corridor of 1 to 2 inch rain from areas of eastern Michigan down into eastern Oklahoma and Texas, including sections of Kansas and Oklahoma, at least a quarter, maybe a half inch over western areas of Kansas, as well as parts of Nebraska. Good news here, that winter wheat crop certainly needs more moisture for proper establishment. Water equivalent, you melt down the snowfall, there could be 5 to 10 inches worth into parts of the southern Canadian prairie, northwestern North Dakota, the upper Missouri Valley, and sections of Big Sky, again back towards areas of the south central Canadian prairie. Now that temperature outlook over about the next 6 to 10 days plays out like this: cold air and through the west, warmth for late in the season into areas of the Corn Belt near normal high plains and deep south. Meanwhile, moisture is expected to fall again in the multi-inch category across the heartland and the next 6 to 10 days over the eastern third of the country. Well, that's a check on weather. Now on to Bryce, Knorr, and a look at markets.
Wednesday could have been one of those days in the grain market when selling on Wall Street put the kibosh on any hopes for a rally. Indeed, prices were selling off ahead of the pit open in Chicago today on the heels of losses in the Dow of more than 250 points at the time. But when the opening bell sounded on LaSalle Street, it kicked off buying, not selling, at least in corn and wheat. Wheat was the big winner on the day. Forecasts continue to point towards drier conditions over the next couple of weeks for much of the hard red winter wheat crop, adding further stress to fields that are already in poor shape, headed into dormancy. Other growing regions around the world are also seeing less than ideal conditions. Rain could delay harvest and hurt quality in eastern Australia and Argentina, while Europe needs to dry out to allow planting to proceed. These problems, coupled with lower production out of the former Soviet Union, have raised hopes for U.S. exports, though so far no signs of new buying have emerged. Traders don't expect much improvement from Thursday's weekly export sales totals, but Ukraine made what could be one small last-ditch sale to Lebanon, with the sellers scrambling to beat the country's mid-November export ban. Technical buying may have also been in play for wheat, with Chicago surging above multiple levels of chart resistance to test the top of its October range today. Chicago December finished up 17 at 894, Kansas City gained 12 to 931.5, and Minneapolis ended 11 3/4 higher at 959 3/4. Traders don't expect much in the way of new export business in corn in Thursday's report, but ethanol got some better news. Production gained 2,000 barrels a day in the latest week, holding last week's advance, and there was also a big drop in stocks, 1.1 million barrels, due to the impact of Hurricane Sandy. December corn faded its initial rally on that news, but still ended 3 1/4 higher at 7.44 1/4. The odd man out today was soybeans. Jitters on Wall Street always seem to weigh more heavily on beans, which are showing a fairly strong negative correlation to the dollar right now. There was plenty of safe haven buying in the greenback, a sign investors were bailing on risky investments in commodities. Crude oil, for example, is down $4 a barrel. Soybeans also suffered on ideas USDA will increase its forecast of 2012 crop production in Friday's report, though export sales Thursday are expected to be good, around 25 million bushels. That didn't keep sellers from briefly pressing January beans below 15 bucks. The contract ended the session down 8.5 at 15.07. Keep up with the latest drought news across the country by visiting www.datelinedrought.com.